The Mark 18 build is done. Well, not SBR'd yet, but other than that, it is done, ready to go. Got the Otter Creek Labs Polonium K on the end here. I've not zeroed the optic yet. Hopefully it's kind of close. Let's see how this thing runs. Oh, yes. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. As you can see, the Mark 18 runs, and it runs good. In fact, this might be my new favorite gun. I'm really happy with this thing. And we're going to talk all about how it does run and how it shoots here in this video, because this is week 6 of the Mark 18 build series. And as you can see, the Mark 18 here is pretty much done. Now, not 100% done, and we will talk about that as well because already in the works. But the thing runs. I've taken it to the range. I've put a bunch of rounds through it. 0 malfunctions. It actually runs really good, and it's a ton of fun to shoot. We did add a few more parts this week, so we'll talk about those as well. Make sure you're subscribed, and let's begin. It's such a satisfying day. One of my favorite things ever is when you finish a build and it runs right off the bat. I've got the Super 42 H2 buffer in here from Geisley, Daniel Defense 10.3 inch cold hammer forged barrel, OCL Polonium K, and it sounds really good and it feels really good. The Mark 18 is everything that I love in an AR. It's short, it's suppressed, it's ambi. When I say short, it is shorter than my 14.5 inch with the suppressor on it. And so that makes for a very good CQB weapon. This thing feels nice and short. It's nice and light, even with the suppressor now. I mean, it feels like it's got some weight to it. There's a lot going on in this short package. But without a big, long, heavy barrel in the end, it does feel very easily maneuverable. And it's just got all the features that I would want on a CQB weapon, which is what the Mark 18 is. Technically, this Mark 18 would be a Block 2 CQBR. And let's really quickly just do a recap in case you're joining us in episode 6 here. We built this Mark 18 from the ground up. Now, this build series, I started with the upper rather than the lower as I usually do because the Griffin Armament Mark II Ambi lower that I wanted was out of stock when I started this build. So I started by getting a Daniel Defense stripped Mark 18 upper receiver with the Riz 2 quad rail handguard, 10.3 inch cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel, and then I added everything else to it. Should we go into everything? Might as well. So I've got the Daniel Defense fixed iron sights, and I got them in that same brown color that the handguard is in. I've got a Mod Light OKW Surefire UE tail cap on an Arasaka mount with a mod button. We've got the Otter Creek Labs Polonium K suppressor on here on an ASR 3-prong flash hider. We've got the Emissary handbrake. We've got the Magpul rail ladders, which just makes it a little bit more comfortable to grip this big quad rail. We've got an EOTech EXPS2 on a Unity riser. We've got Geisley buffer tube, the Geisley Super 42 H3 buffer in here. I've got a Radiant Raptor charging handle, Radiant Talon ambidextrous safety, Geisley SDE Super Dynamic Enhanced, fantastic trigger. We've got a micro breast chrome BCG, which as you can see is pretty dirty from shooting a bunch of rounds suppressed. And we've got, well, we just added this week, Daniel Defense sling mount here so that I could put a QD sling swivel in. For now, I'm just going to be running the sling that I use on my 14.5 inch. It's a blue Force Gear Vickers sling. And I've got an SB Tactical SBA3 brace on here with a Phase 5 tan strap. And before we get into what we added this week, let's take a quick moment and have a word from our channel partner. If you'd like to help support Sawtooth Tactical, the very best way to do that is to click the first link in the description. That link is aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. If you use my link, you get a 2-week free trial. And you can quit anytime, but you probably want to stick with it as I have. What has Aura done for me? Well, I don't get any spam calls anymore. I don't get spam emails. I don't get calls from scammers. What they do is they find all the data brokers that have your information online. They submit opt-out requests on your behalf so that you don't get scammers and spam calls anymore. But they do a lot of other things too. They have a VPN, which just helps to protect your privacy. They've got a ton of stuff, and it all comes in at a very low price. If you stick with it after that 2 weeks, it is only $12 a month. I think Aura is pretty cool because they sponsor gun-related channels, which not a lot of sponsors are willing to do that. And it really helps channels like mine be able to produce this kind of content. YouTube doesn't really like to monetize gun-related videos anymore. And so sponsors like Aura make things like Mark 18 builds possible. So check it out. It's definitely worth trying it out for 2 weeks. Like I said, you're probably going to want to stick with it. I don't have to worry about scammers anymore. I don't have to worry about spam calls, spam emails. And that's been really nice. I use my phone for work, and so I have to answer calls that I don't recognize all the time. And none of them are scammers anymore. And I really like that. So again, check it out. First link in the description, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. I can almost guarantee that you're going to love it. Check it out. I heard from a lot of people that this thing was going to be super gassy, even with an H3 buffer in it. But with this Super 42 H3, even with the suppressor on it, it is not bad at all. I'm very happy with this thing. Griffin Armament Mark II ambi lower. Sweet. So last week, we had added most of the lower parts, including the trigger, the safety, the B5 Systems Type 23 grip, which, as you can see, is my favorite grip. I use it on just about everything. And we have a B5 Systems Bravo stock. Again, my favorite stock that I use on pretty much everything. The reason why it's got an SB Tactical brace on it right now is because it's not SBR'd yet, but I did file that earlier today. And so I just need to certify it and then wait for approval from the ATF on my Form 1. And then this thing will be an SBR and will get the correct stock for it. Now I know that the correct stock technically is the SOT mod stock, but I love the Bravo stock. I've used it on a lot of builds. I think it'll look great on here. And I think that all the tan, FDE, brown, and black goes really well together. So when it comes to what we added this week, well, last week we added the Forward Controls Design EPC, or ejection port cover. Well, I used some other forward controls, or FCD parts this week, but they're pretty small parts. The mag release button, forward controls, although the mag catch itself is Geisley. You can see the G on there. I also used Geisley takedown pins, and I've got an FCD buffer retainer pin. Parts that you don't really see, that you don't really pay a whole lot of attention to, but in my opinion, it made sense to use quality parts, even for those small parts. I'd rather not have the gun fail because some small, maybe insignificant to some people, part failed. So used high quality parts, even for everything else, to put this buffer, to put the lower together. Now the lower and the upper are together, and it is a working firearm. And as you can see from this video, I have been out to the range to shoot it. how did this gun shoot? It shot really, really good. I've been hearing from people for so long how the Mark 18 is overgassed and that there is no combination of buffer and springs that will calm it down enough, especially if you're running it suppressed. Well, that wasn't really my experience, to be quite honest. I haven't run it unsuppressed yet. I made this thing, I designed it, I built it to be full-time suppressed, and so I didn't even put any rounds through it without the suppressor. I took it out there with the Polonium K from Otter Creek Labs on it, the Geisley Super 42 H3, the Microbest Chrome Bolt Carrier, and the 10.3 inch barrel from Daniel Defense. And it felt really, really good. Very little recoil, and honestly, very little gas back to the face. You know, everyone told me that I needed to use a Radian Raptor SD to mitigate some gas, but honestly, it wasn't bad at all. Even shooting pretty fast, I mean, I noticed some gas for sure, but no more than I have shooting suppressed any other time in my life. So if that's something that you've heard and it's holding you back from doing a Mark 18, I wouldn't worry about it. As long as you have a heavy enough buffer. Again, I use the Geisley Super 42 with the H3 buffer. This thing is a pleasure to shoot. I am really, really happy with this Mark 18 right now. I should have built one of these a long time ago. This might be my new favorite gun. And honestly, did nothing with the optic as far as zeroing, but it seems to be pretty close. So I had a great time out there with this. I had a really good time. I was out there filming for 2 videos. So first I was shooting at 300 blackout, and I shot some supers and some subs, and that was for Tuesday's video. Hopefully you guys have already seen that video. And I always have a great time shooting my 300 blackout. It's a suppressed SBR as well. Suppressed SBRs are kind of my thing. I really, really enjoy short suppressed guns. You know what really surprised me is going from 300 blackout subs to 5.56 suppressed out of an SBR. This thing sounded pretty quiet. It sounded really good. Now I was wearing ear pro, but the suppressor really tamed that, just the the concussion and the noise from a short-barreled 5.56. It felt really good. I didn't even zero the optic before I got out there and started shooting. And I wasn't shooting from very long distances the first day out. I was mostly just testing this thing, see how it felt, see how it ran. But from about 40, 50 yards, I mean, I was pretty much hitting every single shot as long as I did my part. So I do still need to probably get this optic zeroed, but I was, happily surprised that just mounting it and going to the range, it was pretty close to on, even sitting on top of this riser. And the gun just felt really good. Now, I love this B5 Systems grip. It's got the same safety, charging handle, trigger that I've used in other builds, and so it just felt right at home. And that's part of the reason that I use these same parts, over and over again. I like my guns to all feel a certain way and to be familiar even the very first time I'm shooting them. I mean, this thing, it literally just felt like home right off the bat. 45-degree safety. The charging handle feels like it always does on any other AR. This Geisley SDE trigger is literally amazing. So you have a very, very light, very smooth take-up. Oops, probably take it off safe. Very light, very smooth take-up. And an extremely crisp break. And a great positive reset as well. So it's very easy to shoot this gun fast, but it's also a trigger that you can be very precise with if you need to. And I know that a 10.3 is a gun that is made for kind of more up close and personal, but it's still 5.56. It still travels pretty fast, even out of a barrel this short. And you can reach out to a couple hundred yards with a Mark 18, no problem. So it's nice to have a trigger that just makes that job that much easier. But honestly, man, this EOTech EXPS2, I love the circle dot EOTech reticle. There you see it. I mean, this is everything that I love in an AR, and I couldn't be happier with it. Short, light, suppressed, ambi. This is like everything that I like in a rifle. So let's talk about the glaringly obvious, the thing that doesn't belong here, and that's the SBA3 brace. And nothing against SB Tactical or their braces. I ran these SBA3 braces for years before I started getting into NFA items. And as far as a brace goes, they're great. And the ATF has said in 2017 that it is okay if you occasionally shoulder a brace. Now, technically, this is supposed to wrap around your arm with the Velcro so that you could shoot it one-handed and, make it easier for someone that maybe has an injury and can't use both hands. And that is what they're for. But people also use them to make short guns that are not, NFA items. Well, this one will be an NFA item. And I just wanted to put the whole gun together before I sent that money off to the government as well. But I did do that this morning. I did file my Form 1, paid for my tax stamp, and I'm sure I'll probably get the email to certify tomorrow or the next day. And then, then I just got to wait for it to be approved. Now, hopefully it'll be approved quickly, but we'll see. I don't usually get my NFA items approved very quickly. And in fact, after waiting 4.5 months for this one, I ended up sending an email to the FBI, which finally got it approved, as well as my 9mm can the very same morning. On my first suppressor, it took over 11 months. And honestly, on my other SBRs, each of them took 3 or 4 months. So we'll see how this goes. AT or NFA approvals are going a lot faster these days than they really ever have before. I'm not sure if that's just been for Form 1s or for Form 1 or for Form 4s, like suppressors, or for Form 1 SBRs as well. So I guess we'll see. But, traditionally, Form 1s have usually been quicker than Form 4s. So if those Form 4s are coming back faster, then hopefully the Form 1 will be even faster. And I'll let you guys know if it is. Let me know down in the comments if you guys would like a video detailing the process on, how to do a Form 1, how to SBR your gun, because there is a really easy way to do it, especially if you have NFA items already, if you've gotten suppressors, which now, with the quick approvals, a lot of people have suppressors that didn't have them before. And if you use a silencer shop kiosk, well, then they already have your information. They already have your fingerprints, your picture. The picture needs to be current. I think it lasts a year. But if all your stuff is current, then doing a Form 1 through silencer shop is very quick and easy. They do charge you $50 for that service. So your $200 tax stamp ends up being $255 total. But honestly, to me, the making it that easy and convenient was worth the $50 rather than having to do like a paper form or even an online one, but submit fingerprints and do all that stuff separately. Just using the information that Silencer Shop already had on file for me is pretty convenient. This thing is tuned perfectly right off the bat. Like, I don't think I have to do anything else to it except for file for the tax stamp, SBR this thing, put the correct stock on it. But other than that, dude, I am really happy with it. So let me know what you guys think about my version of the Mark 18 build. I feel like I struck a pretty good balance between, clone correct, what a Mark 18 is supposed to look like, versus what I like as far as Sawtooth Tactical, George Brown, the parts that I like to use on ARs, meaning, trigger, safety, charging handle, grip, all of that kind of stuff. Some of these FCD, I got the dimples here and here. You know, the EOTech on a riser, the Mod Light, the Polonium K instead of the Surefire RC2. You know, obviously there are parts that I chose that are not clone correct traditional Mark 18 parts. But I also used a lot of the stuff that you would find on the Block 2 CQBR. And I feel like I struck a very good balance between what a Mark 18 is supposed to look like and also having a firearm that I would love and feel comfortable with, including especially the Griffin Armament Ambi Mark II lower receiver. I love this bolt catch and release lever that they have. I love that it has mag release on both sides. It's a very nice lower. Has the same controls as my ADM lower, but it looks much closer to mil spec, and I think it suits the Mark 18 a lot better. I am very happy with the choices that I made on this build, but I want to know what you guys think. To me, this is the perfect Mark 18. Well, it will be once I get my Form 1 approval back. But what do you guys think? What would you have done differently? Let me know down in the comments. Or if you think that I did make the right decisions, let me know that as well. I love to read you guys' comments. I try to reply to as many as I can. And I love and appreciate every one of you guys that watches my videos. I really do. If you're not subscribed to Sawtooth Tactical, hit that subscribe button. Like this video. Sign up for my, Aura link down below. That really helps the channel. You get 2 weeks free if you use my link. And it's a great service. I don't get scam calls. I don't get spam anymore. It's kind of sweet. Anyway, Mark 18 build pretty much done. I'll have it SBR'd soon. I'll let you guys know when that happens. And we'll get plenty more range footage on the channel with this thing. Because like I said, this might be my new favorite gun. I love short suppressed ARs. They're just a blast. They're really fun and they're really useful. I mean, this is like, dude, end of the world, zombie apocalypse. This is the gun I would want. From Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.